Hello everybody, Mobius1 here, bringing you the first Star Wars Galaxies episode in a while. This one, it's going to be a little storytime episode because, you know what, I haven't done a storytime episode in a while, and believe it or not, people ask me for them. So, if you were expecting a guide or something, don't worry, I'll be doing some in the future, but for now, let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? And normally when I record a video, especially a Galaxies video, I'll probably have something open in my second monitor with like a bullet point list of topics that I want to cover and important things to remember, but storytime episodes I tend to just kind of wing, so I'm just going to kind of talk from the heart to you for today. We're going to talk about my first experience in Galaxies, my first couple of days, how I got the game, and the dumb things that I did when I was a new player, because I'm sure plenty of you might have done the same, and many of you probably haven't done some of the dumb things that I've done. But we're here actually in Restis on the planet Rory, which is up here. And we're here because this is where I happen to start. Yes, this backwater, uninhabited piece of crap town, basically. I believe starting a character in Galaxies originally, it was a little bit different than the version of Galaxies that the emulator is emulating right now. Right now, the emulator is trying to emulate version 14.1, which was post Jump to Lightspeed. And that's why when you have your selection of starting zone in the emulator, you can choose from the planets Tatooine, Naboo, Corellia, but then you also can choose based on faction, and you have Rebel, Empire, and Freelance. Those three factions, the cities they give you to start in based on those factions are actually the three cities that have pilot trainers. For those are actually the three pilot factions. So I don't remember what they all are off the top of my head. I know the neutral ones, I believe, are... Again, I don't even want to take a guess. I think it's like Theed for RSF, Mos Eisley for Jabba's mercenaries, and Coronet for Corsac, maybe? But prior to Jump to Lightspeed coming out, those three faction selections were actually replaced with three additional planets. Talus, Rory, obviously, and I guess Locke. Maybe it had to have been either Locke or Dantooine. But I'm gonna guess Locke, unless it was only 5. I don't know, it's been so long. I remember, though, the whole reason... Oh, see, I'm not even starting at the beginning here. So, when I was, I would say, ages like 12 to 14, I was playing a lot of Jedi Outcast. That was my game. And for any of you that have watched my Jedi Outcast series knows how passionate I am about that game. Because that game was really my first... it wasn't the first online game I ever played, but it was the first online game that I really took seriously. And when I say I took it seriously, it was the first game that I was in an online gaming community, or clan as it was called. I was in TPS, which stood for the Psycho Sabrists. Try saying that 10 times fast. Anyway, I played that a lot, and Galaxies had come out around that time, and I really wanted it, but obviously being, 12, 13, I didn't have any kind of income of my own, and my parents weren't too keen about buying a computer game for me that cost a monthly subscription, particularly because my parents were not very keen of me being on the computer as much as I was, so there was no way in hell they were going to fund that even further. But, my 14th birthday was coming up. It was the holidays, and my grandfather, who had a love-hate relationship with my gaming career also. Gaming career at the age of 13. He asked me what I wanted for the holidays when I was 13, and I told him, about this game. And he was like, well, why didn't your parents want you playing it? And I explained to them about the subscription. And he said, well, look, let me talk to your parents and see if they'd be willing to buy the game for you, then I'll cover the monthly subscription for you. And to me, that was that made my holiday right there. Because my parents agreed to it. So they bought me Star Wars Galaxies for $50 or $60 or however much it was. And obviously it came with the first 30 days were for free, and then my grandfather took over the monthly subscription for about a year. Maybe a year and a half. I don't know. I got a job pretty early. I was working at 16. So I get the game. I bring it home. The only person I knew at this point that played the game was actually somebody I met, I think, playing Jedi Outcast. To this, I honestly cannot remember where I met this guy. And I knew him as Isaiah Solomon. And Isaiah, I'm not going to throw your real name out there, but I am going to send you this video just because I have you to credit for pretty much everything that I'm doing on YouTube right now. Because if it was not for Isaiah, I would not have played Star Wars Galaxies. I would not be making these videos because I would not be playing the emulator. And quite frankly, I would not be where I am in life because I would not have met Takora in Star Wars Galaxies, who helped me get into college and all kinds of fun stuff. But that's not what we're talking about today. That'll be another story time. Anyway, thank you, Isaiah. And I hope you enjoy listening to my screw-ups that you got me into. Anyway, so I remember Isaiah, or actually, let's not even go there. So I installed the game, and my father was actually watching me install the game. I guess he was curious himself, kind of wanted to see a little bit about what this game was that required a monthly subscription fee. So we get the game installed, which was 3 discs, which, by the way, was extremely rare, I think, at that point, because I do believe it was the first PC game I had that had multiple CDs. I played many games in the past, like the original X-Wing and TIE Fighter, were multiple floppy drives, or floppy disks. But obviously this was getting beyond that point, technology-wise. But 3 CDs was a lot. So we go through all 3 CDs, the game's installed, you go into the character creation. First of all, I had to get the server from Isaiah. I was on, Neridus was my first server, which I don't remember if it was a roleplay server or what it was. I don't even know if roleplay servers existed. I think it was just an East Coast medium population server. So I start creating the character. I remember getting to the profession selection and reading the descriptions for all the professions and not being sure whether I wanted to go marksman or scout. But I remember reading somewhere in the description for scout, they talk about exploring the galaxy. And anyone who's watched me play any MMOs, whether it was Galaxies or some of my Elder Scrolls Online videos, you might have heard me talk about how my big thing is exploration. I just love exploring worlds, open world games, and sandbox games. The biggest draw to me is just kind of running around the world exploring things. So when I read that, I was like, yeah, I want to be a scout. And I actually remember asking my dad, is it okay if I choose scout instead of marksman? Because I thought, since he is watching me, that it would seem a little weird if I chose scout instead of marksman for some reason, because it wasn't combat oriented. And I don't remember exactly why, but for some reason I felt almost ashamed that I wasn't choosing a combat profession in front of him. But he was like, yeah, whatever, I don't care what you play, it's your game. So I made my scout. And Isaiah had told me to start in Theed because he had a house just outside of Theed and he was going to hook me up with some starter gear. And apparently I screwed up. So that was my first screw up. I did not start where I was supposed to start. I ended up here, which I guess isn't that far. I mean, I'm only one planet away. Technically, I'm on a moon, right? Because I think Rory is a moon of Naboo. I don't know. But I load in, and I do believe it looked pretty much exactly like it looks now in the emulator, which is devoid of life. There are a couple players on the radar, but honestly, I can't tell you if there were any players there in live because it was my first moment in game, and it was my first MMO. I didn't even know what the different colored dots on the radar were, so I didn't know to look for any players. All I remember, I came in, Isaiah basically, I was talking to him through, probably AOL Instant Messenger is what I think I was talking to him on. He told me to find mission terminals, and that's what I found way over here, where I was kind of hanging out earlier. Mission terminals, which you are probably all very familiar with. He said, go ahead, grab a few missions, run outside and kill some things. And as a scout, I started with a CDEF pistol and a survival knife. So, you know, who doesn't want to go out and shoot things with a blaster pistol in Star Wars? So I came over, used the terminal. I got some missions to kill Dunries or Durnies and some night spiders or web spinners or whatever the hell these things out here are. I remember coming out here, and like this right here, this was my stomping ground as a New Galaxies player. I spent so much time in this little open field of Rory here, just killing weakling little pointless creatures that it's so familiar. It's very nostalgic for me just to like stand here and look around, because I remember as a kid being like, wow, like this is it. I am in Star Wars. Like I'm out surviving in the wilderness of Star Wars. I remember being afraid to get too far away from the city because I didn't want to get lost. So I'd be like, oh man, like, is that a river over there? Let's go check that out. And then I'd go out there and I'd be like, oh wait, okay, I can still see the city. I know where I am. But like I was literally too afraid to get too far away from the city because I did not know if I would be able to find my way back. So just seeing like the silhouette of the buildings in the misty like fog of the swamp, like that was my first exposure to Star Wars Galaxies, and that's why this game is so awesome to me, because there was no other game like that at the time, at least that I'd played. I'm being stalked by a swamp rat? Oh. It's a dude. I thought I was being stalked by an actual swamp rat. So I did that for a while. I came back in, and I gotta find, where's the bank? There is a bank on the corner, one of the corners of the city. There it is, I see it. It's on the southwest corner. So I must have been doing missions to the south or the southwest, because I remember being right outside of this bank. Yeah, there should be a gate. Yeah, there's a gate right there. Bear with me, folks. This is a funny story, I promise. So yeah, I was right here. I remember this spot exactly, like this was yesterday. I was standing right here. It was a little bit darker than this. It must have been nighttime, because this is clearly daytime. So it was dark. I'm standing here, and I'm kind of alt-tabbing back and forth, talking to Isaiah, trying to find out where the hell I am, because I don't know where this is. And he's, you know, asking me to describe it, and I'm like, I don't know, man. It looks like Naboo, and it's freaking cloudy. And out of nowhere, a player on a swoop, much like this one, comes speeding in out of the wilderness straight towards me. And if you look at the front of this swoop, what is on the front of the swoop? You have this big, like, fan, like a chopper motorcycle sticking down with, like, this sharp, pointy blade on the front for, like, someone the impaler to just nail you with it. And I'm standing here, you know, I'm playing my first MMO, and I see this guy coming straight towards me. I panicked. I actually, like, came over here and got up on the stairs, terrified that this guy was, like, trying to run me over with his swoop. I had no idea that there was no collision. I mean, because if you think about it, this is basically my coming in from playing Jedi Outcast, where, like, you see a player in a speeder, like, there's collision. You know, you can't just stand there and they don't go right through you. There was a collision detection there that obviously you can't have in MMOs because people would form, you know, blockades. They could surround NPCs or block doorways and such. So it makes sense that there's no collision detection in an MMO, but I didn't know that yet. It was my first day. So when I saw that guy coming towards me, and I still laugh at myself for that every once in a while. If I'm standing in the middle of the street and I see a guy on a swoop come charging by, you know, there's a little moment there where I'm like, oh, haha, yeah, I remember. I almost got impaled on my first day. But anyway, so Isaiah finally shows up. He's like, all right, this is a starport. Let's go for a shuttle ride. So I come in. He buys me a shuttle ticket to Theed. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a ticket to Theed. Okay, so we land in Theed, and it's raining. It's dark, miserable, rainy day. Can't see anything like you can right now in this video. So I'm standing here in the middle of this huge open courtyard, and I'm like, I have no idea where I am. Like, where am I? I was just in the city. I was finally starting to learn my way around Restis on Rory. I'm like, alright, I'm starting to finally get my bearings, and then all of a sudden, I am completely lost again. So Isaiah comes over to me and he's like, hey, trade with me. I'm like, okay, how do I do that? So he tells me, so I start trading with him, and he gives me a deed for a speeder bike. Not a swoop, just a regular speeder bike, which blew my mind because obviously that's one of the most recognizable vehicles because of Return of the Jedi. Unfortunately, I don't have any on me right now, so I'm going to have to use my swoop. But I remember he showed me how to generate it, showed me how to get on it, and told me to take it for a couple of spins. So I remember just driving around this fountain on a speeder bike, being like, oh my god, I have my very own speeder bike. And this was just after they had added vehicles. So many of you probably heard me already say that I'm one of the lucky few, or lucky ones, that never got to experience galaxies without mounts. But I can only imagine how absolutely brutal that must have been. And actually, there is one thing that I did a little bit later on. I'll let you know. Probably wrap this video up with that, just to experience what that's like. But we've probably all been stranded out in the middle of nowhere, like our swoop, our speeder gets blown up, and we have to run back to base. So we've all experienced it. So he kind of, leaves me here. He's like, all right, well, have fun. Just kind of enjoy, hanging out or whatever. I think we might have drove out to his house, which was south of the city. Showed me his house, because he had some decorations. I believe it was a medium Naboo house. Tells me, someday you could have a house of your own. And I'm like, oh my god, I can have my own house in Star Wars. This is so cool. And this might be, possibly why I'm so biased towards the planet Naboo, is because I spent so much time here when I first started. But that being said, it is a really pretty planet. Anyway, so I come back to Theed. It probably looks about like it does now. Early day, the rain stopped, and I'm just kind of exploring the city, and I see that. And I'm like, oh my god, what is that? I must go check it out. So I go over here, and I remember the very first screenshot that I ever took of Star Wars Galaxies was me standing right about here. think, yeah, like right here, looking up at the Theed Palace, just like wearing the basic, you know, default scout uniform, the camo pants with the brown vest and the white shirt. Just like, wow, that is one huge palace. That was my first screenshot. Yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. So I spent a lot of time here killing night spiders, killing flutes, I guess, the little butterfly things. Trying not to get killed by Fombas. I believe I wanted to be a rifleman, so I started working up my rifle skills. I think I also wanted to be a doctor, so I was, you know, trying to work up my medic skills. But eventually, like many young kids at that time, I knew I wanted to become a Jedi. So I talked to Isaiah. I'm like, look, Isaiah, you gotta help me out here. I want to be a Jedi. How do I do it? So he starts telling me about these things called Holocrons. And I'm like, oh, really? Holocrons? You know, what are they? He goes, well, you'll be out in the world, and you'll find a Holocron, which is like a little Jedi, you know, relic, little cube. It's blue. You can use the Holocron, and it will tell you a profession that you have to master to unlock Jedi. And if you do enough of them, then you become a Jedi. So I'm like, cool. So the first thing I need to do is find a Holocron, right? He was like, yeah. I was like, got it. Thank you. I am going to do that. So this is what I did. Wrongly assuming that I had all the information I needed, I came to Mos Eisley. Because I wanted to start probably in what would be, you know, a major city at the time, which Coronet on Corellia was always the largest, most populated city. With Mos Eisley being a close second. But Mos Eisley definitely wasn't quite as populated as I think it is now. But here's what I did. I was like, alright, I bet you there's going to be some Holocrons on Tatooine, because it's a desert, and it's also in the movies. So, I'm gonna find them. I came to Mos Eisley, started running to the west. I said, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Let's look at all the cities. I'm going to start in Eisley. I'm going to go to Anchorhead because I recognize that name from the movies also. From Anchorhead, I'm going to go up to Bestine, and then from Bestine, I'm going to run up to Mos Espa. On foot, without any use. Oh, here's the speeder bike, though. This is exactly what my speeder bike looked like. Thank you, Dick, for demonstrating. But, yes, on foot, I went from Mos Eisley to Anchorhead to Bestine, and then all the way up to Mos Espa. Not only just running, but stopping and looking for Holocrons, as if they were actually just kind of chilling there in the desert. So we're saying, like, coming up to rocks like this, going, alright, maybe there's one in that crack right there. No, nothing there. How about in this? This looks like a dried out riverbed. Maybe there's a Holocron in the bottom of this riverbed somewhere. No. What about in here? No, nothing in there. Nope, not over here. Let's go to the next rock. Literally, that whole route. I don't know how long of a route that is, but just, yeah, like the entire planet on foot. And you know how many Holocrons I found running that whole way? 0. You know why? Because Holocrons aren't just sitting in the middle of the desert. They're looted. So thank you, Isaiah, for not telling me all of the information and causing me a great deal of pain running through the desert for like 3 days looking for Holocrons. I don't think many of you could probably say that you've done that, but I have. But yeah, that was that was probably the most exciting slash noob things that I've done in my first couple of weeks. I remember getting novice rifleman and thinking that I was the next, top sniper, and trying to take on a Famba on Naboo as a novice rifleman with no armor, and getting completely destroyed. But I think everybody's probably done something like that. I remember my first suit of armor was a red and blue suit of padded armor. A full suit, red and blue. Which may actually be where I got the idea for this, but it was not the same color scheme. It was a hideous combination of red and blue. And I remember not wanting to wear the helmet because the padded armor helmets just make you look like a mushroom head. It's ridiculous. But, I remember getting my first suit of composite. I don't remember who gave it to me, but somebody gave it to me while we were doing missions on Dantooine. And it was solid blue, like this dark blue, the same color as my chest piece. And I remember getting it and being like, you know what? I like that color, but I kind of want to have some sort of pattern. So I colored every other piece red. So blue, red, blue. And then the gloves would be red, but I'm wearing special gloves right now. So that's where I got the color pattern from. And it's just kind of stuck like that ever since. But yeah, I think that's, wow, this episode has been pretty long, but hopefully you guys were entertained. If I think of anything else, I'll probably make another one of these at some point, but I know there are a lot of topics in Star Wars Galaxies that I still need to cover. So, anyway, thanks for listening to me rant. I hope this was fun. But yeah. So stay tuned for next week. I'll do another Star Wars Galaxies episode. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but I'm sure it will be fun. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.